Welcome to Sunday Night Football Live Before Lock. I'm your host, Neil Orfield. You can find me on Twitter at PlayerQDFS. I am here with my old pal, your old pal, EMac. You can find EMac on Twitter at EMacDFS. And this show is sponsored by Owner's Box. If you haven't already signed up for Owner's Box, you can still take advantage of regular overlay. And of course, if you use the link in the description of this video, you can get your first deposit matched up to $500, along with a couple $5 contest tickets. That's going to be for a Lightning lineups contest, which is essentially a cash game lineup. You choose between three lineups that they provide for you. If you choose the lineup that scores the most, you're going to double your money. And then, of course, another $5 contest to whatever other contest you want to play on Owner's Box. Go check it out if you have not already done so. Must be 21 plus to play in most places. And if you're someone you know has a gambling problem, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. EMac, I don't think this is the most exciting Sunday Night Football game we've had. The Patriots and the Broncos, definitely not one that I have really been looking forward to. But you know, we can make the most of it, make lemonade out of lemons, I guess. How are you feeling about this slate?
Not too shabby. I got kicked in the teeth on this main slate. I was rocking it on all three sites, Yahoo, DraftKings, and FanDuel. I do my one lineup on each, and then I chased a crap ton of overlay in the 50-50s and double ups, and it looks like I probably should have kept the powder dry. Not a good feeling.
Yeah, I am also not having a great day on the main slate. I hand built me and Scott Barrett hand built a Joe Flacco double stack yesterday on Outside the Box, and that is my only exposure to Amari Cooper on DraftKings. I actually drafted him once or twice on Underdog in some drafts, but I am kicking myself because I'm like, it feels like why did I not take that? Like, it seems pretty obvious. That's sort of, yeah. Joseph Ramirez says, at least there's no book night tonight. Yeah, man, that was a brutal night of NBA. I'm pretty sure. I think I might have had 100% James Bouknight yesterday. He just popped as somebody who had great leverage yesterday, and then of course that kind of, you kind of need him to see the floor to actually put up some fantasy points. So that was pretty brutal for me and for anybody who tailed me on the James Bouknight stuff. I know you weren't really as into it, EMac. Did you play any Bouknight yesterday?
Oh, yeah. I had about 70% on DraftKings. And we should talk through this for just a minute as we're collecting people, because this is an important concept, not just that particular play. But so I had a 70% on DK. I ended up making back about 80% of my money, but that also includes some late slate stuff and some showdowns. But that was just a fraction of what I had on the regular slate. I think I still cleared about 60%, and that was off my 30% of my lineups without Bouknight. I played him in my only lineup on Yahoo.
Okay.
So I had 100% on Yahoo. The only two contests I did not cash in were the two big contests. I cashed in all the 50-50s. I cashed in all the small single entry stuff I was in and in the groups that I was in. And I'm go against the regulars in a lot of those, right?
Yeah.
Well, how did I do that? Well, I had 307 points. I crushed every other spot, and the winning in the small field stuff, the winning lineups were like 350, and I didn't have Luka, but I did get I think I had all three of LeBron, AD, and SGA.
Wow,
in that lineup,
you can fit them all
in
Yahoo. Okay,
and then I had McLaughlin, Jaden McDaniels, the guy who had 40 points from your Minnesota Timberwolves, because that game was on the slate. So he was 10 or 11 bucks. But I put in Bouknight at 10. I put in Ish Smith at 10, right? And it all worked out from that standpoint. But the point is, we never know when these plays are going to be good or when they're going to be bad. I remember back to a primetime slate where Alex was on the show, and this was, I believe it was a Monday night, it was Sunday night or Monday Night Football. And it was, why am I blanking on his name now? Damn it. It was a running back from Kansas City, Derek Gore. And he was the third string running back, and he had like 2 drives in the first quarter where he was just ripping off runs. He ended up with like a touchdown and 60 or 70 yards, but he was at the minimum 200, and like nobody had him. Well, Alex had him on one of his teams. Like he was like 0.6% owned or something like that. And this guy just went nuts on a thread on Twitter, just responding to every time telling Alex is a fraud. And then he thought Alex wrote the article I wrote, and I didn't even have him in the article. And I tried to list literally everybody. Now at the end, I just list everybody who could possibly play or who might be on the practice squad that I'm aware of. And even then I miss players because we there's these tertiary guys. They're not even tertiary guys. These are below Neil's nobodies, right? And it's just like sometimes stuff will happen. Yeah. So he was a great leverage play. How many times has it turned into the proverbial term print fest when we've grabbed someone like that? It was just one. Okay, I said on air I didn't really like him and I was worried about him, right?
Yeah.
I didn't think he was going to be a DNP. I didn't think he was going to be in DNP after the other guard got hurt. And I messaged you and I thought it was midway through the third quarter. I'm like, all right, he's going to get 8 minutes and he'll do something. And then the other guy caught fire who was not on anybody's radar. I went back and looked at Twitter. I looked at other sources, et cetera. Most of them thought it was going to be Book Night. That was going to be in the mix. Stuff happens. This reminds me of, to finish, and I'll let you get a word in edgewise, but this reminds me of Greg Popovich, 2016, 17, 18, when it'd be a primetime game and you'd get ready to watch it, and then 3 of his starters didn't even make the trip.
Back when we had the term getting popped was just like a regular occurrence. It was all the time getting popped. I mean, it got to the point, at least there, it was like you got to the point where like you never trusted anything with the Spurs because you knew that the odds are you're going to get popped. Like something is going to go different from what you're expecting. Here it was just like I didn't see it coming. That could be because I'm not as I thought it might be just because I'm not playing as much NBA this year, so I'm not as in tune with what are the risks of certain plays. I mean, we only had him in for like 17, 18 minutes. I did not see the 0 minutes coming for James Bouknight, but them's the breaks. If he had gone off, he came in at relatively low ownership, so we at least had a shot there. All right. Yeah, we can talk about tonight's game, Marvin. We will talk about tonight's game. Are you ready to do so, EMac?
I'm ready, guys. We've done this a ton. We could do this in 10 minutes if we really wanted to.
Sure.
And you would get every piece of relevant information you wanted. Half the stuff we're going to say, half the people are coming in late are going to miss, and they're going to say, what about? But the way you can solve all this is get the actual projections, goods, and tools themselves from Stochastic. Promo code HOLIDAY gets you 25% off any Stochastic weekly or monthly package. That includes the Sims, if that's what you would like to get. 25% off. When this one goes away, it's going to be a while before we do another ad or another an opportunity to get in at a significant discount like this. So give a gift to yourself, promo code HOLIDAY, and then you won't ever have to worry. Did they talk about the guy I needed to hear about, or have they not gotten there yet? You won't have to guess on the shows because you're going to have the actual stats.
Yeah. Ooh, it looks like Miami is just going to kick a field goal here. It's kind of disappointing. As somebody who needs points from this game, that is a disappointing outcome that the game is just about to end. Check it out. As you said, promo code is HOLIDAY. You can find the link in the description of this video. Also, if you want to check out any packages at Stochastic, we'll take a look at the Sims later on as well. And not the Sims. We're going to take a look at the lineup generator, I think, at the end of the show. Maybe we'll pull up the Sims too. But the lineup generator also currently 25% off using promo code HOLIDAY, using the link in the description of this video. I'll throw it into chat also when I get a chance.
And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put in 20 team-free money lineups. And I hope that a few of you, like Jamie and Mr. 13 Brown, pick these up. Username EMac. It's just the buck. We're playing for pride. It's on DK. We call it team-free money. Why? Well, because sometimes I lose. Like the last slate, I lost last night I won everything. 2 nights ago,
it's free money everything. If you can beat EMac, essentially is what
you
you're saying.
Beat me. I mean, I suck and I only talk basketball. Here's your chance. Rub it in my face. Team free money.
Sterling Tice, thank you, Sterling, for bringing up something that I got right. Yesterday, I was all in on Gabe Davis, so I missed on the James Bouknight in a big way, and of course James Davis. So that went off. Of course, I did not really love George Pickens. I got to some because of the Sims. Is the only reason I got to really any. I mean, I would have had some, but like definitely was not something that I was super interested in. That was kind of just lucky getting a good amount of, not lucky. It was using the tools. The tools were giving me a lot of George Pickens, so thankful for that. Of course, still didn't win anything, so wasn't that exciting anyway. Let's talk about some quarterbacks, EMac. We got Russell Wilson.
Let's get it done.
Yeah, let's start there. How are you feeling about Russell Wilson tonight? You playing Bailey Zappi? What's your level of interest in these quarterbacks tonight?
All right. So Russell Bailey, let's start with Bailey Zappi real quick. We had him ranked as a bottom 3 quarterback on both DraftKings and FanDuel for the full player pool. We had him below or ahead of Trevor Siemian and Bryce Young, but he was a little bit behind Mason Rudolph and Easton Stick. We saw Rudolph and Stick actually be serviceable yesterday.
Yep.
So, anything can happen because it's sports. And that's why they play the games. But we had him as a bottom 3 option. So that's a little terrifying. There's always the specter lurking that he could just screw up and Belichick benches him for Mac Jones. Belichick's stubborn. I don't think that's going to happen, but it's Belichick. Do we ever want to try to get inside his head? I don't. The key thing that you want to remember is which Bailey Zappi are we getting? Are we getting the one that threw 3 touchdowns against Pittsburgh, or are we getting the one that just absolutely sucks? On either side of that, he basically was hot garbage. In his 3 starts, while he does have 4 touchdowns and 2 interceptions, he has only 31 rushing yards, and he's averaging 18 completions on 28 attempts for 187 yards. That does not help with the PPR at all.
Do you have concerns? Do you have concerns about him being benched? Just since you're talking about how bad he is in general, like it feels like Bill Belichick is one of those coaches, and we've seen it, who is willing to make a switch at quarterback if Bailey Zappi does throw, a pick or 2 picks in the first half. Is that something that you're thinking about at all as you build lineups?
I doubt I will play Mac Jones, but I did actually list him in his own line on my rankings. And oh, by the way, that's free. 2,000 words about this game for those of you that would like a consolidated approach, breaking down every player, every position by team, and a full player pool ranking. That's free for you guys on the Stochastic homepage. I will also drop the link into the chat because I can be magnanimous on Christmas. There you go.
What a guy. What a nice guy you are, EMac. Doing all this work for the people.
Apparently, I'm fired up. I've written 3 articles today. I have 1 more to go tonight. I made dinner. I went for a lovely walk on the beach today for about 4 miles. Picked up some shells for my wife and a few other things. So I've had a pretty busy day. But I guess I'm fired up right now. No nap. That's what happens when I don't get a nap on Sunday. I get crazy.
You're feeling that Christmas spirit. Have you thought about EMac just growing out the beard? Looks like he's pretty white.
It's mostly if you see me in person, there's a little more dark, but it's the ratio's gone. My brother's beard is white, and he grows a beard, but he doesn't keep it very long. But he has piercing blue eyes, and so he always dresses up. Like even when he was in high school, he would dress up in a Santa suit for the kids in the neighborhood.
Oh wow!
And we had a white convertible. We had a white convertible Volkswagen Bug, and my mom would drive him around, and he'd sit on the back with a bag of toys, and then take it to the different neighbors. They would give us the toys to go.
Nice.
But yeah,
that's awesome. All right. So Bailey Zappi. Anything else on Bailey Zappi before we talk about Russ Wilson?
No, that's really it for him. So the Broncos have actually been pretty good on defense, even though their DVO rating is not great. But they haven't really played anybody good. Goff threw 5 touchdowns against them last week. But in the games prior to that, it was a combination of Easton Stick and Justin Herbert in the game. Herbert got hurt. Then they played the week before that was C.J. Stroud. The week before that, it was a combo of P.J. Walker and Dorian Thompson-Robinson. And then it was Josh Dobbs in the other game, right? So they haven't seen a really good quarterback, but Zappi's not a really good quarterback. So
True.
While their DVO is not great, their bend but don't break approach meshes nicely with the we really don't want to throw the ball approach of Belichick. Plus, he's missing some receivers too. Which
looking at schedule adjusted fantasy points allowed per game over the past 5 weeks, looks like they are giving up the 9th most schedule adjusted fantasy points per game to quarterbacks are Denver. So, it is, according to that, a good spot here for Bailey Zappi. Denver over the past 5 weeks, giving up the 9th most schedule adjusted fantasy points per game to quarterbacks. Just a different metric to look at. I like to look at different things. You talk about DVOA. That's one of those kind of catch all metrics that I like to look at. And then another one is, schedule adjusted fantasy points per game, just to give another they have had some struggles, and this kind of factors in those matchups a little bit more when you look at schedule adjusted fantasy points per game. So just to your point, man, we got an awesome super chat here. Curtis James says sent us $50. Curtis says, after NBA success, Tried out the NFL tools this week. Just finished second in a $9 contest and took home $6,000. Truly grateful for Stochastic, changing my life. Merry Christmas. Keep up the good work. That is really awesome to hear, Curtis. Merry Christmas to you, and you keep up the good work. It sounds like you are absolutely crushing it. That is very cool to hear. Congratulations.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. Nice job there. It's always fun to see, because even when we, I was talking with some people in the Discord last night with the whole James Bouknight thing, and I said, you ever want to get humbled? Recommend a wager every single day in writing and know people are tracking it.
Yeah.
That it's like, this stuff is hard. And then you got guys, it's one thing when it's DFS content and you're basically commenting on almost every player or every viable play. But when you are actually, ranking the players and putting them out there, and then you got guys like Greg and Aton and Eric just churning out good picks after good picks. And this is a hard game.
It is. Yeah.
To do well.
Yeah.
Take a bow, Curtis James. You have earned it, sir. Yeah. You have earned it.
That's right. You did it, Curtis. That is very cool to hear. And you're right. Yeah. I mean, sports betting. I'm happy to be doing DFS content rather than doing a ton of sports betting content, because DFS content, it's like, yeah, you're wrong. Everybody's going to be wrong most of the time. I think most people kind of understand that. Whereas sports betting, it's like most bets are, within a range of like, you have a 45% chance to a 55% chance. It's like, I don't know. You can't be all that confident. And if you're asked to regularly put stuff out, it's a tough ask. So yeah, you're right. It's a different game. Anyway, let's move on to Russell Wilson. What do you have to say there?
Well, Broncos country, let's ride. So Wilson, my notes say this is a tough matchup. The Broncos may have a hard time moving the ball against the number one rushing, or pardon me, let me rephrase this. The Patriots have the number one rushing DVOA in the league. We know that the Broncos like to run the ball first. This is they've realized what Pete Carroll realized, and Russell Wilson, glorified game manager. I'm a Seahawks fan. I love Russell Wilson for the longest time, but he's a bit more of a prima donna now than he had been in a while. Still an okay quarterback, but no longer, dropping those deep balls into who was his receiver, like Baldwin and some of those guys from 6-7 years ago. That's not who Wilson is now. He's still okay. He's going to have to be the engine that moves the offense tonight, because this is a pretty good Pittsburgh Patriots defense, obviously, because they're ranked number one. If I remember correctly, I think they allow the least rushing yards per game, and I think the least yards per carry, something along those lines. But if not, they're top three. So this is a pretty stout defense. So it's and who's running the ball, right? Three okay running backs, but they're not all stars by any stretch. So it's really going to have to be Wilson that takes care of this. When you go look at Wilson's his stats, he's thrown more than 250 yards once since week 3, and that was 259 yards. He has thrown less than 200 yards in 6 of his 11 outings. There's no volume there, Neil.
Yeah, it's not.
They don't want him to throw more than 25 times. He's going to have to tonight. Now they'll try to do controlled passing, short extension of the run, blah, 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 all that, safe passes and stuff. But, he likes to uncork them and hold the ball on too long, etc. So Wilson is kind of a bit of a challenge. He is not my captain, but he is in my cash game lineup. Bailey Zappi is not.
Okay. Yeah, Russell, I mean, looking at schedule adjusted, since I have it pulled up, looking at the other metric that we like to look at here in terms of quarterbacks, looks like a kind of a middling matchup for Russell Wilson. Looks like they're around New England. Looks like they're around 20th in terms of schedule adjusted fantasy points per game allowed to quarterbacks over the past 5 weeks. But it's just generally not an easy matchup going up against the Patriots. Not the easiest spot here for Russell Wilson. And yeah, obviously just not, they spread the ball around so much. Like there's really that's part of the reason that I don't think this is a particularly exciting game. Just looking at it, it's like, who are you excited about on the Broncos? Like, I guess Cortland Sutton, you can typically he's putting up some big scores, but you don't have anybody who's regularly putting up 20 plus fantasy points anywhere in this game. And from that perspective, it is just not a very exciting game. But I guess the nice thing is you only get to pick players from this game. We all only get to pick players from this game for the Showdown slate. So, even these players that put up 15 fantasy points, that might be plenty good on a slate like this. All right. Anything else about quarterbacks? Actually, I'll ask you this: what kind of rules are you setting for these quarterbacks? Are you willing to play either of these quarterbacks naked? Are you always stacking? What's your plan there?
So I have it for when I'm running my groups. I decided just one pass catcher, and I included Samaje Perine with Wilson. And I said one if he's in the captain, one if he's in the flex. There's just not enough yardage or PPR to warrant two. With Zappy, I think I'm going with two when he's the captain, but just one when he is in the flex. He has even less volume, but it's I don't want to say I like his pass catchers better, but point per dollar because he's missing three key guys.
Yeah.
It's a lot cheaper when you're saying, oh, well, if I pair him with Gesicki or if I pair him with Farrell Brown, who's free and whatever, it's not that getting that second guy in isn't as big of a deal. And then you're hoping he throws 2 touchdown passes. And if it doesn't go to one guy, you have the 2 it went to. That's the strategy for that. For Wilson, I'd rather just have one because when you start to look around at their touchdowns, it's mostly Courtland Sutton. Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
He has 10 of the, I forget what Wilson has, like somewhere around 27 or so touchdowns on the season. But
I'm trying to hold on to a big board best ball lineup, and I need Jerry Jeudy to not put up more than like 8 fantasy points. That is my biggest sweat currently for tonight is I'm fading Jerry Jeudy. So I'm sure this is the night he's finally going to go off for 130 and 2 touchdowns or something and just bury me. But yeah, so far it's been mostly the Courtland Sutton show. He's been the one who's shown that he can actually get in the end zone. Jerry Jeudy can't even get in the end zone when he catches the ball 5 feet from the end zone. He still somehow steps out of bounds without getting in. So hopefully he doesn't ruin that for me tonight. Let's talk about some running backs. So no Ramondre Stevenson once again for the Patriots. Sadly, in that lineup that I'm sweating, I have Ramondre Stevenson and very much need him. Unfortunately, don't get him tonight. So we are back to the Zeke show for the most part. Is it just Zeke that you're playing from the Patriots, or are you playing any other Patriots running backs here?
Are there any Patriots other Patriots running backs that we can
I'm gonna pull up. I'm gonna pull up last week just to see, because I thought we had maybe Kevin Harris or something.
There is Kevin Harris. So Ramondre is out, and wait for it. The Broncos literally have the worst rushing DVOA in the league. So whereas the Patriots are the best against the run, the Broncos are the worst. They allowed Jamar Gibbs 100 yards on just 11 carries, and David Montgomery got them for 85 on 17 carries.
Yeah.
The Broncos are allowing 146.9 rushing yards per game. That is the worst in the league, as are the 5.2 yards per carries. So Elliott had every running back touch in week 14. Last week, Kevin Harris played on about 20% of the snaps. He had 4 carries, 25 yards, and a touchdown. So Harris looks like the other guy. JaMychal Hasty is on the roster. He did not get a snap last week on offense anyway. I didn't go see if he did any special team stuff. And then is Ty Montgomery still kicking around here? Or am I besmirching that with the Saints? No. There was one other person I thought could be like the emergency running back. Basically, if Zeke gets hurt, it's going to be Harris.
Yeah.
If
Zeke's
mobile and upright, it's going to be Zeke because whatever, he's on the limited contract. It doesn't matter. One more hurrah. Remember those glorious primetime games during the holidays when he jumped in the Salvation Army kettlebell and got fined?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be something if there was a red kettlebell in one of the end zones that he could jump into tonight?
Maybe there will be. Let's see. Patriots snaps from last week. It was Ezekiel Elliott, 87%, Kevin Harris, 13%, JaMychal Hasty, 0% last week. So looks like those are the only running backs currently. Ty Montgomery had played actually in week 14. He had 0 snaps last week, but actually saw 6 snaps in week 14. So maybe he is still.
Yeah, three the week before that, 2 the week before that. So I think on the season, he's got 42 snaps on the season. So
not expecting much there.
If there's a big emergency, if Kevin Harris goes down, maybe Ty Montgomery goes back there.
So answer me this, EMac. What is your level of interest in Ezekiel Elliott first? I'm sure you have some interest in Zeke, or I assume so.
He's my captain. He's the cash game captain. There's just no 2 ways about it.
Are you playing any Kevin Harris?
I do, but I don't think I have him in my cash game lineup. But I will be playing Kevin Harris. I've got all my rules set up. I just haven't run anything yet.
All right. I have not set up any rules yet. I'm thinking about, if you can't tell, I'm not in my usual spot. I am at my sister-in-law's house. taking over her office. So I'm not working in my usual space, and I'm thinking about just running the lineup generator for my lineups tonight instead of trying to do all my usual rules and stuff.
You should. You
Yeah, I
should.
mean,
I highly recommend it. We can do that on the back end of the show here.
that's true. But if I do
perfect.
that on the back end of the show, I'm going to be showing everybody exactly the lineups that I'm playing.
That's
which,
it. Well, let's see. We have about a third of the viewership. No, we don't. We have 725 diehards watching us. I'm guessing you're not going to be battling them in most of the contests. Plus, then they've got to react to what they see on the screen, get it into their stuff, look and type at the same time. As long as you keep scrolling around a little bit, they're never going to get it, Neil. So let's do
I think
this. This is going to be
also most people who watch the show are very cognizant. Also, like they're aware of the idea of not wanting to dupe, so maybe less inclined to try to.
Or
dupe
they're
me
like me and they
eventually.
have it on in the background while they're doing other
Yeah,
things
right.
on
Hopefully,
multiple screens. So.
True. Let's talk about that three-headed monster for the Broncos. Are you particularly interested in any of the Broncos running backs? Are you playing all three? What's your plan there?
I'm fine playing all three. I believe we did a primetime game, Neil, where I played all three in cash, and I ended up doing okay. I think that was like were they on in October? I feel like that's when I was doing a little traveling. Cheers. So I'm fine. I'm fine with any of them, but we have to look at them each individually, and they are each at different price points, which does make it nice. So Javonte Williams has mostly consolidated the work when it's a close game or the Broncos are ahead. He's on the field for about 60% of the snaps. If it's a reasonably close game, you can kind of pencil him in for about 14 carries and 4 or 5 targets. He's priced like he is a true bell cow, getting at least 20 touches. That would include, converting those targets into receptions, which he's not getting. So that makes it a little bit tricky, and he's got the tough matchup against the Patriots defense. If we look at Samaje Perine, he is the passing guy. All three of these guys can catch the ball. Perine's the best pass protector. He's the guy that gets to be in the 2-minute game. We saw on one of the primetime games a couple weeks ago where there was the drive at the end of the game where he got like four catches on 5 targets and picked up like 40 yards in the last couple minutes of the game. That could happen, but if something like that didn't happen, he's kind of an afterthought. But he is probably good for 2 carries and 3 or 4 targets, is my guess. And then you have Jaleel McLaughlin, who the interesting thing about him, he's probably only going to be on the field for 10 snaps. Still, in those 10 snaps, he's probably going to see 4 or so carries and a target or 2. Here's the funny part. He leads the team with 4 carries of at least 20 yards or more. He also has a 22-yard reception. That's more than Javonte Williams has, even though he's only on the field for 10 snaps a game. So that gives him a little intrigue there. I don't even want to talk about touchdowns because the Broncos don't get a lot of them. But he could rip off a 20-yarder. Maybe he gets 2 12-yarders, right? So the point being, if he could get about a point per touch, which is perfect on DK for his salary.
We would take that all day. I'm just responding to SC just said, he said, would love to hear more about that book over retro. It is not a book. It's just a piece of artwork that says "Keep it sassy." I thought it looked like a book too. I was gonna read it to you a little bit, but no, it's just a piece of artwork. Sorry. Okay, so you have some interest in Perine despite limited. Sorry, was that Perine or was that McLaughlin you were just talking about?
I'm interested in all 3. I will be above the field on all 3. I did not set a rule limiting them. I could have all 3 in a lineup. I don't think I will get that, but I'm not against it. Now, why don't I want that? Well, Patriots are pretty good on defense.
True.
But I
it's
wouldn't hate it.
A lot to ask.
Yeah, I wouldn't hate it. I was just looking up Wilson's touchdowns. Wilson has 24 touchdowns, 8 interceptions on the year. And I think 11 of them went to Sutton. So Sutton has the most of them.
Yeah, Sutton definitely.
That's it for those running backs. So we have really 5 running backs in the game. I'm comfortable playing all 5.
Yeah, it's a lot of running
mostly
backs
because of the price
here.
Yeah,
and the price tags in the flex. What do we have for prices? We have Zeke 10,200, Javonte 9,400. Okay, yeah, these are. I mean, after those 2, it's a pretty big drop off. So that does kind of make it viable to play a lot of these different play. I mean, Kevin Harris 3,000. Yeah, you're right. I'm probably not going to set a rule that would preclude me from having 3 from the same from the Broncos either. But I also suspect that I won't. Like, they're not the best point per dollar plays on the slate. All right, let's talk about some wide receivers then. Let's start where you want. Whichever team you feel more comfortable talking about, or you'd rather start with.
Sure. Let's hit with the Patriots here because they do not have Juju Smith-Schuster. He's out. That means Devontae Parker is finally healthy, and he had a 91% snap share last week. Demario Douglas is back as well. He played on like 65 or 70% of the snaps. They're going to be the number 1 and the number 2 guys. Hunter Henry is out. That further consolidates things down to the remaining healthy people because you have Jalen Reagor and Tyquan Thornton. I don't want to really play either of those guys. Are you ready for some just horrific stats about Reagor?
Yeah, let's see. Jalen Reagor. This is drafted ahead of Justin Jefferson. Jalen Reagor. Reminder for all the Eagles fans out there.
Has 13 targets this season. How many catches do you think he has on 13 targets?
0.
He has 3.
See, I do that to be a dick because I know you're going to shoot for a low number. So if I undershoot what you're going to say, then it's just like underwhelming. Kind of ruin your punchline.
But he only has 2 drops technically. I mean, he gets the manos de piedras, right? The hands of stone.
Yeah.
But
okay.
So
it's not all his fault.
Good.
Yeah.
He will be returning kickoffs. He is also, I believe, minimum priced on DK. Well, don't worry, guys. We'll hit some FanDuel here in a sec. So he's out of. I'm not keeping him out of my player pool, but I doubt I'll get much more than 2 or 3%. So for me, and I really don't. Tyquan Thornton's had his moments as well. Aside from that, what was it? 2 years ago, he had a 2 touchdown game out of nowhere, and then just done like nothing before or since. I'm not really interested in him. But when you're looking at Devontae Parker, I think he's a strong play. He will be in my cash game lineup. And then backing, and I don't want to say backing him up, but Demario Douglas is also going to be popular. He missed, I think he was in the concussion protocol. He's been out for 2 different stretches this season, but he was back. So he is going to kind of step into a 2/3 role. There's not a lot of passing volume here, and we'll talk about the tight ends in just a second, but those are really the only 2 guys with the injuries to the other players.
Yeah. Yes, people keep saying Merry Christmas, and I have not said it yet. So yes, Merry Christmas to everybody. Christmas Eve. I was my niece told me I can't say Merry Christmas yet because it's Christmas Eve. I had to correct her. It's totally fine to say Merry Christmas on Christmas Eve. EMac, do you have any fun Christmas plans?
I have to make a Christmas dessert after this. I have to write the Christmas basketball article after this.
Okay, so really fun Christmas plans for you.
Yeah, I've got a lot of things moving on here.
Somebody just asked if we are going to take a look at the lineup. I lost where the comment was, but yeah, we will take a look at the lineup generator in about 10 minutes. We're going to get through the rest of the positions. Then we'll take a look at the lineup generator for both DraftKings and FanDuel. Find some lineups for you.
So the last thing I wanted to say is the whole wide receiver position has 13.7 targets on average in the 3 games with Zappe as the full-time starter.
Okay.
That's a little scary, Neil.
Not great. Yeah. Doesn't inspire a lot of confidence in those wide receivers.
No. Let's continue with tight ends because these guys need to be grouped together. Okay, so Hunter Henry is out. He's dealing with a sore knee. He did practice on Friday, but they ruled him out, I think, Friday night or Saturday. He actually led the team with 9 targets last week, and he has 16 in the 3 games with Zappe under center. So you've got Mike Gesicki, who has 2 targets, had 2 targets last week, and Farrell Brown had 1. I bring this up because this duo is on the field just over 50% of the time, pretty regularly. So the point being is, with Hunter Henry out, these guys aren't going to see much more of a snap share, but it does give about 6 or so targets that could go to the other players. The other thing I want to point out is, we know the Patriots just aren't really throwing a lot this season because, let's face it, their passing offense sucks. But these guys are already on the field a lot and not doing much with it. Farrell Brown is essentially 0, or he's free square on DK. I'd expect 1 or 2 targets. High value, no. Gesicki, more of a nominal tight end. He's kind of like the Dalton Kincaid. the Travis, kind of put in the same sentence as Travis Kelce, but doesn't line up in line very often. How about that? The rest of the skill sets, not exactly the same. So he is more like the third wide receiver, if you will, on an offense that can barely support one wide receiver.
Sure. All right. Is that it for tight ends and wide receivers for the Patriots?
For the Patriots, yes.
All right. Well, then tell me about the Broncos.
So the Broncos, Courtland Sutton leads the way with 85 targets. Shockingly, Jerry Jeudy has 75. How is it so close, Neil? I would have thought there'd be a much larger disparity there.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
So that was a surprise for me. And then Marvin Mims has just 28. However, Mims has averaged 3 per game over the last 5 games. So that's 15 targets in the last 5 games. Half of his targets have come in the last 5 games. Sutton, you're paying through the nose for it. He has not topped 80 yards since week 3. Yikes. He has scored 10 touchdowns since week 3.
Wait, say that again?
So,
who has scored 10 touchdowns?
So Sutton has not topped 80 yards since the 3rd week of the season.
He's just scoring the touchdowns every time.
But he gets a touchdown a week, and in that stretch, there's only been 2 games where he hasn't had a touchdown.
Yeah, he's been, and they're awesome too. A lot of his touchdowns are those are big touchdowns. Yeah, he's good. I like Sutton.
But he's averaging like 6.8. I'm doing the math in my head, like 6.8 targets per game or something like that.
Yeah, and just turns them into touchdowns.
Yeah.
Rank the Broncos receivers for me, if you would.
Sutton, gigantic gap. Jeudy, not quite as much of a gap. Mims, but we're wish casting at this point. And then because he is a former Saint, you have Lil Jordan Humphreys.
He's a former Patriot, right?
No, he's a former Saint. His head coach.
Yeah. I understand what you're saying now. I thought you were talking about revenge narrative. You're right. Yeah. He came like Sean Payton wanted him. Yeah. Sean Payton got all those.
No, this is a true remember me situation. Payton's like, hey, I remember you. Get out there on the field.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. I follow now. I follow your train of thinking.
Yeah. So he gets about 1 or 2 targets a game. You will hear his name called. There's going to be a 17-yard slant. Does he catch it or not? That makes or breaks his whole night. So that will be him. And then Troutman should be good for a couple targets. The other thing that is interesting is, I'm blanking on his name. I think it's Lucas Kroll, right? So Lucas Kroll, so the last 3 games, Troutman has 3, 3, and 2 targets. Kroll had 3 in the last one, and then 1 and 1. Troutman has 31 of the 50 targets to the position. Kroll, even though he only has 6 targets, 5 of them have come in the last 3 weeks. No other Broncos tight end has had a target since week 10 other than these 2 guys. So it's
like to hear that.
Consolidated for the right word. It is a desert. It is a barren wasteland, and we have a big oasis with Adam Troutman, a little oasis off to the side there with Lucas Kroll. So
I kind of like Lucas Kroll. I mean, for being forced to play players from this game, $800, and we've got him at 10% ownership. I think he's a pretty talented receiving tight end. So if he's in the most recent game, 51.4% route participation, only a couple targets, but I don't hate it. I kind of like him as if you were going to ask me for a Neil's nobody, I think Lucas Kroll might be near the top of that list.
I won't vouch for him as much as I did for the tight end last week.
Who was that? I forget what the game was.
I can't even remember. I had the Jamal Agnew call, and then I had the tight end that was from Iowa State, who finally got a target. His initials were KC, I believe, or CK. I forget. In any event, Marquee Music, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. I know it's pronounced Bailey Zapp, but it's Zappy rhymes with crappy.
I didn't know. I always thought it was Bailey Zappi. That is actually news to me.
No, I believe
I've watched
like Zap.
I think I've watched a couple games. Maybe I don't listen to the announcers all the time when I have the games on, but I've definitely watched a couple Bailey Zapp games. Maybe they just called him Zappy when I started watching them, but it's good to know. Bailey Zapp. Okay, got it. All right. So we've ranked them. Kickers and defenses. Go over. Do you want to do kickers and defenses quickly before we talk about the lineup generator. Take a look at it.
Now I'm trying to listen. I shouldn't be trying to play YouTube when I'm on wireless. I want to hear how they.
You want to hear how Google tells you it's pronounced? Is that what you're saying?
It's Bailey Zapp.
Bailey Zapp.
Bailey Zapp. There you go.
There you go. There you have it.
Somebody took the time to do it on YouTube. It must be right. But why would they put it on YouTube if it wasn't real?
That's true. Who would bother? All right. So you want to do kickers and defenses?
Do we have to, Neil? Do we have to?
You're the kickers and defenses guy. I thought you'd be pumped.
All right. Denver has 13 sacks over the last 3 games. Zapp has been taken down 11 times in his 3 games. Zapp has thrown only 2 interceptions during the stretch. The Broncos have, sadly, 1 pick in the last 4 games. They do lead the league with 13 fumble recoveries, and they're second overall with takeaways with 24 behind Jacksonville and San Francisco. They've just been getting a lot of fumbles are hard. It's hard to quantify. Those are far from sticky. Interceptions are a little more realistic or projectable, and they don't get that many. When we look at New England has 11 sacks in their last 4 games, 3 interceptions and a fumble recovery. Denver has allowed 8 sacks, and Wilson has thrown 4 interceptions. I think one of his games was a 3 interception game. I'm going from memory there. Those are the key things. When we get to the kickers, we got to go deep here. Will Lutz, this is his first season outside the Superdome. It is going to be cold tonight. That is an added change. And then on the other side, you've got a rookie kicker, Chad Ryland. He did grow up in Pennsylvania where he played high school ball. He then kicked for Eastern Michigan and Maryland. So I think he'll be okay with the outdoor conditions. Will Lutz is a 10-year vet. 9 of the years have been spent in the Superdome, but he has, and then he played Atlanta and Tampa Bay a lot, et cetera. But, he's fine as a veteran. I just wanted to call out that this isn't the usual Denver kicker that's been there forever. That is a little more used to the cold.
Sure. Okay. Anything else on kickers and defenses, or are you ready to talk?
No, I think
take a look at the lineup generator. All right,
good.
I'm going to pull that up then. Actually, let me submit some lineups first, and then I'll look at it for both DraftKings and FanDuel, just so I have something in there, so I don't end up with $0 return. I mean, I guess I could anyway. Could happen, but I'm gonna submit this so I can forget about it as we are looking at lineups. I don't really even know what I have exactly. Sadly, I didn't do that much curating, other than I made sure I have a good amount of Lucas Kroll. All right.
Sometimes you got to leave it up to the gods.
Exactly, and that's exactly how I'm doing it tonight. I'm leaving it up to the gods. All right, I am
Christmas
pulling
miracle.
up.
Shall we sing "Luck Be a Lady" tonight while you're doing that? Hey, reminder, everybody, we are sponsored by Owner's Box. Sign up through the link below us, and you will get a $500 deposit match with your first deposit. Additionally, you need to put in $10. Why? Because they're going to give you a $5 anytime contest ticket and a $5 lightning draft contest ticket. So that is Owner's Box.
Yep. All right, we've got the lineup generator pulled up. We're going to start by looking at some DraftKings Showdown lineups, and we're going to take a look at some FanDuel single game lineups as well. So we got you all covered. Anybody who complains that we don't look at FanDuel, we'll look at some FanDuel lineups also. I'm going to do EMac all lineups. So we're going to get a mix of chalky, balanced, and contrarian lineups. I'm not going to set any kind of specific game script. If you want to do that, get the lineup generator. You can get it for 25% off currently. I'm not going to. I'm going to use standard projections here. All right, first lineup, we have Devontae Parker in the captain spot. We do not have Bailey Zapp in this line. We have no quarterbacks in this lineup, so no real quarterback correlation to worry about. But we've got Devontae Parker, Demario Douglas, Zeke, and the Patriots defense from the Patriots. From the Broncos, we have Cortland Sutton and Javonte Williams. This looks like a very strong, large field GPP lineup. To me, EMac, I have no issues with it at all. We're leaving some salary on the table. Looks like it projects for just under 76 fantasy points. You're typically not going to get anything in the lineup generator that projects poorly. Everything's going to project fairly well. This look, it has a lot of the top projected players on the slate, some of the higher upside players on the slate. So I have no issues with this lineup. EMac, what do you think?
No, I'm good with that one. It's always a little bit of a wrinkle. When looking at these. So let me look at it. No, and that comes in nicely. You've got the Devontae Parker, I think, makes it different enough by itself.
Yeah.
Um,
4.7% projected captain ownership, and we're leaving salary on the table. I'm good with it.
Because someone would try to upgrade the Patriots defense, or maybe they would change, Demario Douglas to, I don't know, pick somebody else. You've got
Javonte
the
to
two
one of the
Patriots
quarterbacks.
receivers.
Yeah.
I
think it's strong. All right, let's take a look at another one. We'll look at a few, and then we'll just take a look at our exposures, take a look at FanDuel. All right, this one we've got the Broncos defense in the captain spot. I always say if you're playing a defense or a kicker in the captain spot, you probably need to do something to get there. Probably need to leave some salary on the table to get different, because everybody uses the defense and kicker in the captain spot as a way to save salary to then be able to play studs throughout the rest of the lineup. So I like that we're leaving some salary on the table here. We do have two of those Broncos running backs here, Jaleel McLaughlin and Javonte Williams in here. We also have Zeke from the Pats. We have Judy and Russ, so we've got that little stack there. Again, I like this lineup. It projects better than the last one, just over 81 fantasy points. Probably not going to be due to a ton, because it is leaving some salary on the table while having the defense in the captain spot. No correlation issues. This looks like a totally fine, strong, large field GPP lineup. You have you taken a look at it? Are you setting your lineups, or are you?
No, I'm looking. I've got it on my larger screen. So
okay, cool. You could, if you wanted to. I don't need to ask you. Okay, yeah. Just say it. If you wanted me to, I could do this on my own. I just not sure.
Give me like 4 minutes to quickly.
All right.
These. I've got all my rules set. And the cash game lineups there. It looks like there's still a few team EMac, team free money, just a buck there in the DK lobby.
Go take advantage of EMac, guys. Go take advantage of them. All right. So 2 for 2, I'd say. Strong, large field. This one leaving 1,000 on the table again. I like leaving some salary on the table. That makes sense to me. We've got the kicker, Will Lutz, in the captain spot. We have Russ with Cortland Sutton. We've also got Jaleel McLaughlin in there from the Broncos. On the Patriots side, we have Demario Douglas and Zeke. Again, very strong lineup. Interesting, we're not seeing much of Bailey Zapp. We are getting a little bit of Russell Wilson, but looks good. Projects pretty well. Leaves some salary on the table. No correlation issues with the quarterbacks. All right, now we're leaving mega salary on the table. We have Jaleel McLaughlin in the captain spot. Most people playing Jaleel McLaughlin in the captain spot are doing it so that they can get all the studs into the lineup. Here, we're leaving 6,500 on the table while playing Jaleel McLaughlin in the captain spot. So here you're saying, I think Jaleel McLaughlin is actually going to put up a big game, maybe score a couple touchdowns, way more than everybody else, and maybe the game is not going to be particularly high scoring outside of Jaleel McLaughlin. We do have Russ Wilson, so maybe we're hoping for a passing touchdown, Wilson to McLaughlin. We have the Broncos defense in there, and then we do have Bailey Zappi in this one with Devontae Parker and Ezekiel Elliott. So looks like a really strong, large field GPP lineup. Not going to win all that often, because Jaleel McLaughlin is not going to be the highest scoring player on the slate all that often. You might not need him to be the highest scoring. Even with 6,500 left on, maybe not quite that level, but he's going to need to be one of the highest scoring. Probably doesn't happen all that often, but this lineup, when that does happen, this is going to be a relatively unique lineup. I would guess completely unique if we didn't run it on the show, obviously. It looks like a strong, large field GPP lineup. Not going to win all that often. Going to win a lot of money when it does win. All right. Javonte in the captain spot. Samaje Perine. So we have 2 of the 3 Broncos running backs. Russ Wilson with Adam Troutman. We got Zeke and Demario. That's a common combo. Zeke and Demario Douglas appears to be the most common combo that we get here. All right, I'm just going to go through and save. See if we. I'm just going to go kind of slowly so I can see if we get any with all 3 of the Broncos running backs. I'm just curious to see if we get to any. No, we're not getting to.
We are projecting Farrell Brown so high tonight.
Are we really? I'm not getting to any here.
3.6.
I'm surprised that we haven't come across him in these lineups.
Let me see if maybe I'm pulling an old one, because I had to cap him on my thing here. Now there could be things that are keeping me out because of the not correlation is the wrong word, but better allocation of salary, etc. But
yeah,
Farrell Brown, 3.5. So
I don't know that I got to any. All right, we got to in an hour. I think we got 40 lineups. I think we're still getting bonus. Yep, 62% Zeke, 53% Russ, 42% Demario Douglas, 38% Cortland Sutton, 35% Javonte. Broncos defense, Devontae Parker. and so on and so forth. A lot of exposure. Let me see if we got to any Pharaoh Brown. We just got 3% Pharaoh Brown, so it was not
We
popping
just,
for us.
yeah, we're projecting him for 11, but we just may not need the salary the way it all works out.
True. Yeah, this is not a particularly tough slate from a salary perspective. All right, we're going to take a look at some FanDuel lineups also now.
And
So
when we
FanDuel
say
single game.
not need all the salary, as soon as you put in a Jerry Jeudy, a Devontae Parker, a Demario Smith, all of a sudden there's no one else to pay up for. So
True.
hence leaving $6,500 on the table. That seems like a lot. Is it?
Yeah.
Is it really a lot?
Just not the best pay up options out there. Before we do FanDuel, I am going to pull up the lineup generator from the show. Here we go. Yes. I've got the link for the lineup generator just in case any of you watching want to do this for yourself. It's a good time to sign up. We've got another slate coming tomorrow, a 3-gamer. So it's a good time to take advantage of the lineup generator. So I'm throwing that into chat. And that has the this link includes the 25% off your first week. So check that out. All right. Now let's take a look at these FanDuel lineups. I'm going to use standard projections again. We got Dangerous in the MVP spot paired with just Javonte Williams. This is so because you can choose whatever lineups you want. I'm going to be nitpicky. This is not one that I would use for a large field GPP. If I have Russ in the MVP spot, I mean, he has been running a little bit this year, so it's a little bit more viable, but I still prefer to have at least one primary pass catcher in the flex. This one only leaving 500 on the table. We've got Bailey Zappi with 2 of his running backs, Russ Wilson with 1 of his running backs. I prefer to have at least one wide receiver or tight end in there with Russ when he's in the MVP spot. So I'm going to nitpick and say that I am not going to choose this one. I'm not going to discard it because I'm not actually using it anyway, but just wanted to give that note. So here we do have Russ with Courtland Sutton. I like it a little bit better. I still, I prefer having multiple, but on FanDuel, it is only you only get 5 players in your lineup. So it's a little bit tougher to get in a double stack like you want on DraftKings. It's also only half PPR, so it's a little bit more viable to have the quarterback in the MVP spot, even if he doesn't run a ton with just one pass catcher in the flex. So I think this is a viable, nice looking lineup. Pretty interesting. This one, so we're leaving 2,500 on the table. The only representative from the Patriots here is the defense. So we got the Broncos stack and then the Patriots defense coming back. Makes sense. This makes sense if the Patriots just don't really do anything offensively. Maybe they get a pick six. Different ways for this lineup to work out. Looks like a nice large field GPP lineup to me. So being nitpicky, this is one that I think I would choose.
Just remind everybody the lock is at 8:15 tonight. That's in 6 minutes. It's not at 8:20. And that just occurred to me for those that just saw the look of terror go across my face.
Yeah, that's we don't have producer Mike here to remind everybody tonight like we did on the NBA show last night. So that is a good call. We got about 5 minutes left to get those lineups in. All right, this one, Will Lutz, the kicker in the MVP spot. So reminder that there is no salary multiplier on FanDuel, so you need your kicker to be, you need your MVP to be the highest scoring player in your lineup. So here you're saying Will Lutz is going to outscore Zeke, Courtland Sutton, Javonte Williams. Certainly can happen that Will Lutz can outscore all of them. If it couldn't happen, you wouldn't get it in the lineup generator. But keep in mind, that is what you're saying with this lineup. So it's Will Lutz with the Broncos defense. We got Javonte Williams, Courtland Sutton, Zeke, the only Patriot here. We don't have any quarterbacks in this lineup. Still leaves 2,000 on the table. A lot of studs in the lineup. I think it makes sense as a large field GPP lineup. All right. Patriots defense in the MVP spot. This one only leaving 500 on the table. I do think that it is a decent lineup here. We've got Russ with Javonte Williams. So again, when I had Russ in the MVP spot with Javonte as the only pass catcher, I didn't love that as much. But when he's in the flex, I'm a little bit more comfortable having Russ paired with just Javonte Williams. So no issue there. We got Bailey Zappi with Demario Douglas, and then of course Patriots defense in the MVP spot. This looks like another solid large field lineup. My only real issue with it is only leaving 500 on the table, but I think Patriots defense, only 4% ownership in the MVP spot. Probably not going to be duped too many times. So I think that it's an okay, not my favorite, but also I wouldn't discard. I think it's a fine lineup. All right, here we have. All right, I like this one. This is Russ Wilson in the MVP spot. He does have 2 pass catchers in the flex, one of them being Jerry Jeudy, who is I'd call him a primary pass catcher, being a wide receiver. We have Javonte Williams, who is a capable pass catcher as a running back also. So a couple paired there with Russ Wilson. And then we have Demario Douglas and Devontae Parker coming back from the Patriots. leaving 3,500 on the table. Looks like a pretty strong large field GPP lineup to me. I don't think it's going to be duped a ton. It's going to project pretty well. Let's take a look at one more, and then I'm just going to go through, save the rest, and take a look at our exposures on FanDuel. All right, so this one has using the full salary cap. Actually, I'm going to skip past this one because it's using the full salary cap. Don't like it. All right, this one leaving 2,500 on the table. I'm seeing Bailey Zappi with just Zeke. I think it's viable. Zeke can catch the ball a little bit. Maybe Bailey Zappi throws him a passing touchdown and Zeke adds a rushing touchdown. I think it's viable. So we have we have Zeke in the MVP spot, Bailey Zappi in there with him. We also have Russ paired with just Jaleel McLaughlin. Wouldn't be that shocking to see McLaughlin catch a receiving touchdown. Russ do a little bit on the ground, so doesn't need any other pass catchers. And then we have the Broncos defense. So that looks like a fine large field GPP lineup to me as well. All right, I'm going to go through and save until we get to the end and just see what our final exposures look like.
I'm making a stand on Jaleel McLaughlin of all people tonight. Three times the field.
Okay. What's the field at?
I think he's at 11 and I'm at 29. I've seen 11 and 8. I don't know if my update is the most accurate. So
yeah, that is a bit of a stand. All right.
So upload and then I will tell you exactly what I have. But
we got to 84% Russell Wilson, 63% Broncos defense, 58% Zeke, 55% Javonte Williams, 42% Cortland Sutton, and then a drop down 34% Douglas, 32% Bailey Zappi, so on and so on. I've reverted to calling him Bailey Zappi. Briefly, I learned and called him Bailey Zapp, but I'm reverting.
Yeah, rhymes with crappy.
Yeah, I'll probably just keep going back and forth. I will say, guys like Lucas Krull, if you play a guy like
Camara.
Yeah. No, that's just Camara. Somebody told me it's like Camaro, so I've switched to that. On FanDuel, you can get a guy like Lucas Krull at 6,000 at like virtually zero ownership. Those are the kinds of plays that I love on FanDuel because volume doesn't do quite as much for you on FanDuel. Like PPR, it's only half PPR instead of full PPR. So you get those guys who are just like, they don't have a ton of volume, but they score a touchdown. They are more optimal more frequently on FanDuel than they are on DraftKings. So if I can find a low-owned guy like Lucas Krull, Marvin Mims, I like those guys even better on FanDuel than DraftKings because you don't need quite as much to pay off your salary on FanDuel and to compete with the guys who actually get a ton of volume. All right, EMac, what are your numbers looking like?
At 22%, Jaleel, we have him at 9.
Okay. All right. Any final words for the people, EMac?
Yes, I am going to drop the link into chat for the free Sunday or free Christmas Day article that I've already written and posted. So I want everybody but MZ Brown to look at this.
Yeah,
I like you guys, and he is a douchebag. So
we're doing a free show. We'll see you tomorrow for you on Christmas Eve, and he is mad that we wasted too much time.
Waited until the show was over to say I'm out of here. Hey, sorry you missed the last 30 seconds.
Yeah, after we're already done. He's seen all of our he's the kind of guy who's clearly coming in here just for the lineup generator lineups, and he's just taking those anyway. Okay. Anyway,
but there we go. I broke down every player that's viable for all three games. I'll still write up a Monday night article. I'll do that tomorrow, but I've got to write the Christmas NBA article tonight. So there we go.
You're a man of the people, EMac, always working.
Yeah, so much for a holiday. My wife and my mom are like, "You just gonna be glued to that computer all the time?" I'm like, "Yeah, I guess it kind of looks like it. I didn't math this out very well." So
yeah. All right. Well, good luck to everybody on your lineup site. Of course, Merry Christmas to you, EMac. Merry Christmas to chat, and Happy Holidays to anybody who's celebrating.
Thank you. And MZ Brown. I'm sorry, I was a Grinch. My heart grew.
He was being a jerk. Today. He was being a jerk. It's fair. It's fair to respond in kind sometime. He'll be back. Yeah, whatever. Thank you all very much.
Man, what more do you want?
Yeah, that's all he wanted. Thank you all very much for watching. Merry Christmas, and EMac, we'll see you soon. Good luck tonight.